Are you preparing for an interview or an assessment with an airline? Are you nervous? Well, we got you covered. Let's figure this out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back on board Waypoints Aviation. We're back in an Airbus A320, and I am just doing a quick test of an updated scenery of Dubai, which I was given, and I literally just loaded it onto the sim. And I have to say, big shout out to friend of the channel, Massimo Coticelli. I hope I said your name correct, Massimo. And I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, the detail is absolutely amazing. Dubai has never looked more real in the simulator. I mean, you even got the Museum of the Future over there. Here's the Trade Center right here. And yep, downtown Sheikh Zayed Road right over there. Downtown Dubai is more populated, more buildings. Massimo, you are an angel. Thank you so much for this scenery. It really means a lot to me, and it just makes flight simulation a lot more realistic, a lot more immersive, you know. And I'm really grateful, Massimo, so big shout out to you and a big thank you so much for that. And Massimo has also given me sceneries for my next video, which is going to be flying to the Koreas, you know, so stay tuned for that, guys. All right, guys, today I'm going to be focusing on assessments. All right, specifically assessments for pilots, more specifically assessments for pilots who are not type rated, and those who are type rated as well. Now, an assessment, for those of you who do not know, an assessment is basically when you get called by an airline, when you apply to an airline for an for a job. An assessment is what they're going to do to make sure that you have the skill and knowledge to fly their aircraft. All right, so for example, if you were applying to an airline that operated Airbus A320s, they're going to put you in an A320 simulator and they're going to check you out. They're going to basically see, can this person fly this aircraft? If regardless of whether you're type rated or not type rated, it helps if you're type rated. Oh, Dubai Marina looks pretty cool. It helps if you're type rated, but if you're not, they will assess you on basic flying skills within the Airbus cockpit. All right, so today what I want to do is I want to focus on some of these things, and the inspiration behind this. Oh, there's Mall the Emirates right there with the metro and the bridge. Massimo, you're a magician. Thank you so much. All right, so I digress a lot. I'm so sorry. So the inspiration behind doing this video for assessments came from two friends of the channel who are subscribers, and these two people, they actually came to Dubai recently, and they flew with me in this very simulator in practice for their upcoming assessments with an airline in the Far East. And it was such a pleasure to have you guys, Dimitri and Priscilla. Thank you so much for coming to Dubai, and you know, it was a pleasure to meet you. It was a pleasure to fly with you and help you practice for your upcoming assessments. And I'm sure the rest of the community join me in wishing you very well. Oh look, JBC, Jumeirah Village Circle. I actually used to live there a couple of years ago before I moved closer to the airport. Anyway, guys, Dimitri and Priscilla, I wish you very well, and I'm sure the subscribers join me in doing the same. Good luck and God bless you on your upcoming assessments and interviews, and I'm pretty sure you guys are going to land those jobs. And you know, it's a good time to be in aviation. Airlines are hiring. Aviation has come back really strong and the demand is there. So guys, if you're looking to get into aviation, go for it. Just jump right in and go for it, because it's a good time right now in aviation, especially where hiring is concerned. And yeah, so as I make my way down towards the Palm, you know, passing Dubai Marina and Jumeirah Lake Towers right over here. So Guys, in this video, I'm going to be focusing on exercises that may or may not come in an assessment that you have. All right. So if that exercise is there, watch it, learn from it. Hopefully it'll be useful for you. If the exercise is not there, move on to the next one that would be there. But these exercises are from what I have seen airlines doing recently. All right. So it's gonna contain a visual circuit. It's gonna have an engine failure after takeoff. It's gonna have a steep turns and some what we call Airwork. It's also gonna contain intercepts of radials for VORs, just to test your navigational skills. It's also gonna have a raw data ILS. All right. So those are the 5 things that I'm going to be focusing on, and you can always let me know in the comments below if there's anything I missed. But generally speaking, this is what it is. All right, guys, and this is going to cater to both type-rated and non-type-rated pilots for the Airbus A320. All right, so guys, without any further ado, let's jump right into it, and let's do the exercises one by one. And yeah, let's just have fun doing it. If you notice, I'm not in my usual seat. I'm in the first officer's seat. I'm in the right seat, and I'm gonna fly the aircraft from the right today because if you're going to be doing these assessments, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be applying for a first officer's position. So I want to do it demonstrated from this seat. All right. So yeah, that's what's going to happen today, guys. Just as a reference for today, the aircraft we're going to keep one configuration for all the exercises. Our fuel is going to be 10 tons, and our gross weight is going to be 65 tons. All right. And basically that's going to be the configuration of the aircraft at all times. We are flying the Airbus A320 214, the CEO, not the Neo. And yeah, that's it, guys. So let's go ahead and start with the exercise of doing a visual circuit first. All right. And before that, guys, the last thing before I go on, I'm so sorry, I've been blabbering for so long. If you're not subscribed, if you're new to our channel and you like what we do, please consider subscribing. And for those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much. And please, 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 if you can, hit that like button. It really helps us out. And share this video with your friends if you think it's going to be useful for them. Thank you so much, guys. On to the scenarios of practice. All right. See you guys there. Alright, guys, here we are. We're on the runway, and we are going to start with an easy one first, okay, which is a visual circuit, alright, or visual pattern, or whatever you want to call it. So I've got a document linked in the description below, which I'm pretty sure all of you are going to find very useful. It's basically this document right here. It basically tells you everything you need to know about the Airbus, the procedures, pilot flying, pilot monitoring stuff. And on page number, let me see, what page number is that? Page number 23 of this document, you have a visual pattern, information on a visual pattern. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take off on runway track, which for us, we're in Dubai International Airport, runway 12 right. So our track is going to be 119 degrees. That's the runway track, okay? So we're going to take off on runway track, and we're going to be climbing to initially 1,500 feet. All right, 1,500 feet, but because Dubai is almost 60 feet above sea level, we need to add that to the 1,500, right? So it's going to be 1,500 AGL. So we're going to be going 1,600 feet. All right, so we've set 1,600 right over there, and that's going to be the altitude we're going to climb to. So we're going to take off on our runway track, and we're going to use flaps 1. All right, and then what we're going to do is, immediately we're going to turn the aircraft. This has us doing a left-hand circuit, but for the sake of practice, I'm going to be doing a right-hand circuit, okay? We're going to make a right-hand turn to a downwind track, which is going to be, so you've got 119, and the opposite side will be 299er. All right, we're going to make a right-hand turn going down 299er at 1,600 feet. We're going to activate the approach phase and keep the flaps at 1, and then once we are at the threshold of the runway we're going to land on, all right, we're gonna start the timer. The timer is done here with the chrono button, all right? So you push that button there, you get a chrono right there, okay, which is a stopwatch, all right? You push it one more time, it stops, and you push it again, it resets, all right? So what we need to do is we need to know exactly how long we need to fly out. So Airbus says it's 3 seconds for every 100 feet, all right? We are going to be at 1600 feet. So 3 seconds times 16 is going to be 48 seconds, all right? So we're going to be flying outbound 48 seconds. We will add 1 second for every knot of headwind that we have, and we will subtract 1 knot of headwind, one knot, or subtract 1 second for every knot of tailwind, all right? If we have headwind, we increase the amount of seconds we fly out. If we have a tailwind, we reduce the amount of seconds we fly out. Got it? All right, so today it's going to be 48 seconds, and then when we get to 48 seconds, we're going to stop the timer, flaps 2. Once we have the flaps at 2, we see the flaps 2 and green, then we're going to go ahead and put the landing gear down, and we're going to set the runway track, turning again to the right, and then landing as we start the turn. It's going to be a shallow descent turn, and then we're going to get gear down, flaps 3, flaps full just before we turn, and by 500 feet we need to be stabilized, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over here to the performance page, and I'm going to go to the approach QNH is 1016 today. The temperature is 27 degrees, and the winds today are out of 170/3 knots, all right? Bit of a crosswind today, and I'm going to put 550 as our barrel, all right? So that's going to be the minimums for us today. So that's what we're going to be doing, and yeah, so just come along with me while I do this exercise, all right? So it's all going to be from the right hand seat. All right, so yeah, let's just jump right into it. Alright guys, here we are. We're in the sim. We're ready for takeoff. Everything's ready to go. All lights are on. Fully configured and ready for takeoff. The lineup checklist is complete. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and start the takeoff. So I'm going to release the parking brakes right now. And I'm just gonna give it about 50% of N1. Here it comes. Both engines are stabilized. And now let's proceed to go for a flex takeoff. All right, 1, 2. All right, here we go. Manflex 68 SRS auto thrust blue. A little bit of forward pressure on the side stick, and away we go. So just literally use the rudder pedals. Keep yourself in the center of the runway as best you can. Now your pilot monitoring is gonna call 100 knots, which you will say checked, and that's when you can release the side stick and keep it nice and centered. And here comes V1 and rotate. So just pull back on the stick. One nice gentle rotation straight to 12.5 degrees, which is right over there. They're going to say positive rate, you're going to say gear up. Alright, and you're just literally going to maintain about 15 degrees nose up, climbing away. And what you want to do now is you're going to ask your, you're going to ask the pilot monitoring to basically activate the approach phase. You're going to come to performance, and we're going to activate the approach phase very soon. All right, as soon as we get to about 1600 feet, and we clean up the aircraft. So here comes 1600. I'm just maintaining the runway track for now. Here we go, lever climb. Gonna bring the thrust lever back 1 notch, drop the nose, and just maintain 1600. All right. Now, what we're going to do is, as we level off at 1600 feet, We've got the flaps 1 speed there, but we don't want to retract the flaps. All right, we're going to go performance, activate the approach phase, confirm, and that's going to keep us at our flaps 1 speed. Now the next thing you want to do is we're going to put the flight directors off, we're going to put the bird on, and we're going to turn to the right downwind, which is 299. All right, so I'm going to set 299 right over here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to roll the aircraft to about 20 degrees of bank right over there. Okay, 20 degrees of bank, and I'm literally just watching my vertical speed, making sure that the aircraft is not climbing, it's not descending, and I'm gonna stay in this bank. I've set 299, which I can see right over there and also right over there, so I know where I need to turn. So all we've got to do now is just maintain 1600 feet. I can even increase my bank of turn, my rate of turns, but I'm just going to keep it at 20 degrees just to be on the comfortable side of things. 20 degrees is more than enough. And as you can see, we're now basically turning for our downwind for runway 1 to right. And then from that point on, we're going to be looking out for the threshold, and then we're going to time ourselves 48 seconds outbound. All right, so you can see I'm climbing, so I'm just going to bring the nose down a bit, stop the aircraft from climbing, small tiny corrections just to keep the aircraft where I want it to be. All right, so 299ers coming in, there it is right there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently, we're 10 degrees, so I'm going to reduce it to just start bringing it out of the turn, level out there, make sure the bird stays on the horizon so I don't lose altitude. And there you go. As long as you put the tail of the bird on the blue track, you will maintain 290 degrees factored for the wind. So now here you go. I've got 299, the aircraft is heading 299, which is confirmed by the tail of the bird on the blue track, and I'm maintaining 1600, which is also confirmed by the wings of the bird on the horizon. All right, and now there we go. There's Dubai Airport right over there. That's where we took off from, and we're looking for the threshold. All right, so once we're at the threshold, we're going to start our timer outbound and then start configuring the aircraft. For now, just work the side stick very, very gently, small inputs here and there just to keep you where you need to go. So I'm slightly high, so I'm just going to reduce that and bring us back to 1600. Just fly the airplane, guys. Just small, gentle inputs. As you can see on the side stick, the inputs I give are very minimal and very, very gentle. All right, and that's all you need to fly the aircraft. All right, now that I'm at 1600, gonna give a little bit of back pressure, bring that nose up, keep the bird, the tail of the bird, I mean the wings of the bird on the horizon, and that's gonna keep me at 1600. In fact, I can even take my hands off right now, and the aircraft is stable. All right, now I'm coming up on the threshold of the runway, so I can see it right over there, and also here at my 3 o'clock, it's touching the threshold. So we're gonna start the timer. Okay, so we want to go out 48 seconds. So the timer is on, and we're going to go flying outbound, maintaining 1600 feet, flying outbound 48 seconds. We actually have, the winds are a little bit all over the place right now, so I'm not going to do the whole add and subtract on the headwinds and tailwinds. I'm just going to keep a standard 48 seconds. All right, auto thrust is on for this exercise, but if ever they tell you to go manual thrust, don't worry about it. Just literally match the thrust levers and then push the button, and there you go. Now just maintain the S speed and add and reduce power to maintain that. Here's 40 seconds. Very soon we're gonna get to 48 seconds. All right, I'm gonna bring back the auto thrust as well. There we go, time 48 seconds. All right, in fact I went out a little bit extra. Now we're gonna start the turn back, so I'm going to bank 20 degrees. Gonna set the runway track, which is 119. I'm gonna bank the aircraft 20 degrees as well, and I'm gonna ask for flaps 2, Flaps are moving. It's going to be auto brake slow for this one. Maintaining 1600 feet. Alright, we got flaps 2. We can now go gear down, and flaps 3, which is I've just selected. And we're going to start a nice shallow descent, about 700 to 800 feet a minute, down towards the runway, looking out for the runway as we turn. Alright, now keep in mind I did turn at 20 degrees, so coming back to the runway I only need to turn 20 degrees. Now be very careful if you're doing this in an airport with parallel runways. They've cleared me to land on runway 12 right, which is right over there. Do not delay your turn and line up with runway 12 left, okay? Keep that runway in your sight. You see, I'm descending at a very gentle rate. So I'm gonna go flaps full now, and we can do the landing checklist. And basically now it's just small inputs just to line us up with that runway. 800, 700 feet a minute is pretty much all you're going to need for this. So there's our runway. It's pretty much almost in front of us, and we're just going to bring the aircraft down gently, looking at the pappies at the end of the runway. We want to see 2 reds and 2 whites.
1,000.
There's 1,000 feet. Here we go. By 500 we need to be stabilized. All right, so when this thing says minimums, I need to be fully stabilized and heading towards that runway. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just working the side stick and making sure the aircraft is going in the direction I want it to go. We're looking good on the profile. Slightly low. I'm just gonna raise the nose a little bit. Gonna maintain that track. 500 feet.
Minimum.
Okay, minimums, and we're stable. We're in front of the runway. We have a good glide in, and everything's okay. So all we gotta do now is just let the nose come up just a little bit, reduce the rate of descent so we can stay on our pappies.
300.
300 feet. Oh look, how nice. There we go. Slightly low, correcting. There we go. We're gonna get 2 reds and 2 whites. There we go. 2 reds, 2 whites. Pappies are happy. Slightly high now, correcting.
100.
Okay, here's 100 feet, and at 50 feet I'm gonna start flaring and kill the power.
40.
I'm literally gonna flare to 5 degrees.
20. Retard.
Pulling and holding for 5 degrees.
5.
Power's at idle. And we're on the ground, and I'm engaging idle reverse using the rudders to keep us in the center. So we got spoilers, reverse is green, decel, the aircraft is decelerating, and everything's good. We'll come up to a nice stop. I can even go full reverse and get the aircraft to slow down even faster. There we go, 70 knots. Gonna cancel the reverses, press the brakes, cancel the auto brakes, and I can use the rudder to kind of help us exit the runway. And that, my friends, is how you do a visual circuit. All right, keep your controls to a minimum, only as required. Input to see the change happening, and once you see that, don't do anything else. Just let the aircraft trim, auto trim, and keep itself where you want it to be. All right. So that's basically how we do the visual circuit. All right, the next one is going to be Airworks. All right, so let's get the aircraft up in the air, and we'll start the Airworks, which is going to be steep turns and maintaining altitude and speed without the flight director and without the auto thrust. All right, it's basically manual flight in raw data without any flight director assistance. So that's what's coming up next, guys. All right, see you there. Alright guys, for this next exercise we're going to be covering steep turns. So as you can see right now we're at 5,000 feet, and we're heading 210 degrees, and we're maintaining a selected speed of 210, and you can see all of that right here on the primary flight display. Alright, so we've got 5,000, we've got 210, and we're maintaining 210 degrees, and we're using the flight directors. Okay, now a steep turn has us having to turn the aircraft, or rather bank the aircraft, at 45 degrees, which actually is right over. So you have 10, 20, 30, and then you have 45 degrees over here. And it's going to be basically a 360 turn to the left and a 360 turn to the right. And during this exercise, you should not lose altitude and you should not lose speed. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. So the first thing is I'm going to get the autopilot off. All right. Autopilot's off. All right. Then I'm going to put track FBA. All right. So now we're at track mode. I'm going to get the flight directors off. I'm going to set to 210 on the track. Right over there. Nicely set. All the parameters are set. So now we've just got to make sure that the track is that the what do you call this, the bird is on the track of 210 and that we're maintaining altitude. All right, and once we're nice and straight and level, we're also going to bring the thrust levers and match them to the power set in there, and we're going to push the auto thrust disconnect. So now we're manual thrust and we're just going to start the turn. So it's going to be a 360 degree, it's going to be a 45 degree bank, 360. First, we're going to do to the right, okay? So we're just going to bank the aircraft over. As you bank the aircraft, you want to give a little bit of back pressure. Keep an eye on that vertical speed. You're right, you don't want to climb, you don't want to descend. And you're going to add a little bit of power just to make sure the aircraft stays where we want it to stay. All right, so I've increased my altitude, so I'm going to pitch down a bit. Now I'm going to go there, so there you go. Bringing back the power. All right, and I'm just going to literally go keep the aircraft in about between 5 and 7.5 degrees is going to be the sweet spot. As you can see, I'm trying to maintain 45 degrees, but the thing is, the Airbus, once you go beyond 30 degrees, it's trying to fight you. So I'm adding a little bit of power and I'm giving a little bit of back pressure, and the aircraft is constantly wanting to try and come back. You see, if I ease off, it's trying to come back to 33 degrees. So I have to fight this, and I'm actually going to increase my speed a little bit more just to keep it there. I'm a little bit high, keeping at 45 degrees, just literally going back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to keep it at 220 actually, because 210 is a little bit is too slow. But as you can see on the side stick, I am literally going back and forth, trying to keep the aircraft where it is. I shouldn't hear the buzzer. There's the thing, there's my rollout. So now I'm just going to roll out at 10 degrees, keep that nose down so I don't climb, small controls, and then once we get to our track again of 210, I'm going to level off here, ease back on the power, bring us back to 220, and that, my friends, is how we do that. So we did not lose more than 100 feet either side. I'm just stabilizing the aircraft now, and if you go plus or minus 200 on this, you will hear the buzzer. The key is not to hear the buzzer, all right? The altitude buzzer. So now we're back again at 210. We generally maintained within 200 feet of 5,000 feet. And everything seems to be stable. All right, I could have done it a little bit more better, but yeah, that you get the idea of what we want to do. So we're going to be doing the same thing. This time it's going to be 220 knots, 210 degrees, 5,000 feet. And now, as stabilize the aircraft first. Remember, don't start the exercise unless you've stabilized first. So make sure we're on track. Make sure we're not climbing or descending. And now I'm going to do a left-hand 360. All right. All the way a full 360 degrees around. Okay, so gonna start the exercise now. Gonna roll the aircraft to its side. As I roll the aircraft, gonna give a little bit of back pressure just to stop it from descending. A little bit of power on the thrust. Add a little bit more thrust. There we go. Gonna roll it to 45 degrees, and I'm gonna hold it right there. That's it. That's the sweet spot I want. Vertical speed's dipping, so I'm going to give it some back pressure just to stop it from dipping. All right, there we go, 45 degrees, and we're going to basically just keep this, give release on the side stick, just to maintain what we want. 5 to 7.5 degrees. We're in clean configuration, so keep an eye on that vertical speed. If it's climbing, ease off. If it's descending, pull back. Just see how easy it is to do it if you know where to pull. All right, so we're 45 degrees, we're coming back a little bit, the speed is stable, the power setting's right, and I'm just literally just going back and forth. Now the speed's decaying a bit. I'm going to add a little bit more power. All right, easing off a little bit, easing off on the power so we don't climb too much or we don't accelerate too much. A little bit more back pressure on the side stick. There's our 10 degrees. Start turning out, and once you come to about 10 degrees, don't level off immediately. Wait till you get to your track, and then once you're on track, ease off, reduce the power, stop the trend, and stabilize the aircraft right over there. So a little bit of side stick input here and there just to maintain that. And look, my hands are off the side stick and we're stable. Now all I have to do is just add and subtract some thrust until the speed is maintaining the speed I want. The trend has to go away. I can do a little bit of fine tuning just to make sure I'm at 210 degrees. And there we go, guys. That is how you do a steep turn of 45 degrees. All right, these are the Airworks they're going to give you. All right, if they tell you to climb, say 1,000 feet, they're going to set say 6,000, and they want you to do a 180 degree turn to the right. So let's say 180 degrees will be 030 from where we are right now. All you got to do is basically bring the nose up to about 10 degrees, add power just to maintain that speed. You can see I'm adding power just to make sure that that speed trend doesn't decay, that we don't lose speed. And I'm gonna bank to about 30 degrees, keeping it at 10 degrees, nose up. And here we go. Gonna add a little bit more power just to accelerate. Now I can see 6,000 is coming, so I'm gonna bring the aircraft, the nose back down again, put the bird on the horizon. I can see that my speed is reaching 220, so I'm gonna back off on the thrust to maintain that speed. And now I'm just gonna stay in the turn of 30 degrees until I get to the track that I want, which is 030. So once you've set these parameters, guys, you don't have to do much. All right, with the aircraft, just make sure on the thrust levers you are adding and you're active on the thrust levers, not very rough, but just enough just to make sure the trend stays where it has to be. All right, that speed you shouldn't see a little arrow here. Okay, that means the power is right and the aircraft will maintain that speed for you. Now we've got the 030 coming in right there, so as soon as that comes in, I'm going to reduce my bank, and as I get closer, reduce the bank even further. And now that I'm on the track, I level the wings nice and steady and add and subtract power as required. And there we go. And that was a 180 degree turn, climbing by 1,000 feet. All right, now in the other aspect, let's just say they want us to descend to 5,000 or rather to 4,000 feet, and they want us to go back to a track of 210 degrees. So I'm going to set 210 right there, 210, 4,000, and this is going to be a descent. So easiest way to do it, I want to maintain 220 knots, right? So I'm going to bring the power to idle, and I'm going to now pitch for speed. So I'm going to bank the aircraft 30 degrees first, so I start my turn. All right, so there's 30 degrees, and now I'm going to pitch for a speed. So if I go down even further, you can see my speed starts to increase. So I'm going to give a little bit of back pressure, and I'm going to bring the nose up, and I'm going to adjust my pitch for a speed because I'm not using thrust. So I'm just going to adjust pitch, so I can even come up maybe to 5 degrees, let it bleed off a little bit of speed, and once I'm at the speed I want, I can basically just adjust there. And there you go. So that's pretty much how we do it. We're just adjusting for we're just pitching for speed. And once we get to our track, you see that? Now I'm doing nothing on the side stick. I'm doing nothing on the thrust levers. I am literally doing nothing. There's 1,000 to go. We're just about to reach 4,000. You gotta forgive me, guys. My GoPro suddenly committed suicide. I have no idea. All right, now we're getting to our track. So track's coming first before the altitude. So we're gonna level off right there on our track, maintaining 220 knots with the same pitch. And now, as the altitude comes in, we're going to bring the nose up very gently. And we're not going to level off because we want to level off at 4,000, not before. And now, as you can see, the speed is decaying. So I'm going to add some thrust. Make sure I do not lose speed. And there's 4,000. Put the wings of the bird on the horizon. And there we go, add power as required, and a little bit more, take the trend away, and there you go, guys. That is 180-degree turns, climbing and descending, and that's how you do that, guys. So that's the Airworks that they're going to give you. So just keep an eye on that, keep an eye on your instruments. Make sure you're always looking at that vertical speed because that's going to be very active during the exercise. And yeah, you'll be fine. All right, so that's how you do Airworks. Steep turns and 180-degree turns, climbing and descending, guys. All right, let's move on to the next exercise. All right, guys, on to the next exercise, which is going to be a raw data ILS. So usually when they set you up for a raw data ILS, what they'll do is they'll give you an intercept. So they'll program in the ILS. All right, so we've programmed in the ILS for runway 12, right? It's identified as India Delta Bravo Echo 109.5. That's the frequency, and we're about 10.7 miles away. We're about 2,000 feet. We're descending actually down to 2,000 feet. And as you can see, if I zoom out on the EFIS just a little bit, there's a runway. And that's where we are. All right, the sim is paused right now. You can do this in a simulator. You can't do this in the actual aircraft. What we have to do now is we have to intercept this track, which is going to the runway. It's 119 degrees as per the chart. All right, and we got to do it without the flight directors, and that's why it's called raw data. All right, so we're going to be basically intercepting at about zero. Not right, you can see right now we are 1.2 miles right off the track. Usually around 0.4 is when the localizer, which is that needle over there, that diamond over there, comes alive. And your job is to put the localizer here in the middle, and when the glide slope comes in, you have to keep the glide slope in the middle as well. And you got to do all of this until 1,000. All right, the exercise pretty much ends at 1,000 feet because of the stabilization criteria. By 1,000 feet, they want the aircraft to be stable on the glide slope within 1 dot. You see these dots here? Within 1 dot of deviation. Same thing for the localizer. And you need to be fully configured, gear down, flaps full, everything set up and ready for landing by 1,000. If any of those items are not done by 1,000, it's considered an unstable approach, and you've got to abort and you have to do a go around. All right, so because of that, this exercise is going to be between where we are now to 1,000 feet. All right, so that's what it's going to do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to intercept the localizer and keep it intercepted, as well as the glide slope. All right, and so yeah, let's just jump right into it, and let's do this exercise. All right, guys, here we are. We're intercepting the localizer. All right, autopilot's off. I am now hand flying the aircraft. We have flaps 1, and as we get closer to 0.4, very soon you're going to see the localizer come alive. Localizer's alive. Immediately bank 20 degrees and have your partner set the runway track, which is 119 degrees. All right, now give yourself 20 to 25 degrees of bank, and get yourself on the track. We can also request flaps 2 now. Now, as you can see, the localizer is to the right of the track. So I'm gonna keep the bird on the right of the track, about a bird's distance, while maintaining 2,000 feet. All right, we've got flaps 2, the glide slope is 1 dot above, so gear down, and flaps 3 now. And I'm gonna arm that and get the lights going as well. Now, as you can see, staying away from the track is going to pull the localizer back in, all right, while I stay there. And the minute this comes back here, I am now going to put the bird back on the track, and that's literally all you got to do. So small inputs, I can see the glide slope is almost there. So while I keep the bird away from the track to in the direction of the localizer, I'm now going to start working on my glide slope. I'm on the glide slope, so I'm going to set the go around, which is 4,000 feet. And now I'm going to start a gentle 700 to 800 feet a minute descent. I'm going to go flaps full. Now that the localizer is on the center, I'm going to bring the bird back to the track, like so. All right, just like that. Now we are pretty much established. So now with the localizer on the track, I just keep the tail of the bird on the blue line, and I just monitor now, making small adjustments. You can see how little inputs are required to intercept and to maintain this. Now you can see the localizer moving slightly to the left, so I'm going to bank very, very slightly to the left, go off the track, and then level the wings. Don't keep going. Now that that's going to pull the localizer back in, and once the localizer is back in the middle, I'm going to come back again and level it right over there. You see that? Small, tiny corrections. I can improve on my glide slope as well. So 1,000 feet, I'm within 1 dot of deviation, and as you can see now, I'm making small corrections just to keep the aircraft where I want it to be. And if you look outside, there's our runway. We're doing pretty good. Now we're on localizer, we're on glide slope, and all you gotta do is make tiny adjustments just to keep it there. Remember, first look at the track, all right? If you are on the runway track, then analyze and see where the localizer is. Getting slightly low, going to increase our
500.
Just going to increase our pitch, reduce the rate of descent, bring that glide slope back again in, and basically that's it, guys. That's how we're doing that.
400.
Always move the bird into the direction of the localizer, pull it back in, and the minute the localizer is back in the middle,
300.
put the bird back on the track. Put the tail of the bird back on the track, and I
100
promise
above.
you will stay there every single time.
200.
And there we go, guys. Now we're basically pretty much at the runway.
Minimum.
We can now go visual. Minimums continue. I'm gonna raise it just a little bit, reduce our rate of descent. There we go. Don't level off. At 50 feet,
50.
I'm gonna bring
40.
the nose to 5 degrees and kill the power,
20. Retard.
and just flare for 5
10.
degrees.
5.
And we're on the runway, guys. Now I can engage reversers, bring the nose down, and use the runners to keep us in the middle. Spoilers, reversers green, deep self. And that, my friends, is how you do a raw data ILS. It's very, very simple. All right, just make sure you're tracking the localizer, and then once you have all the parameters in the middle, just make small corrections to keep them there. That's literally it, guys. And yeah, hope you found that useful. On to the next exercise. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's down to the last 2 exercises of this episode. This one is going to be a engine failure, what we call an EFATO, engine failure at takeoff. Alright, so just before takeoff, we're going to lose an engine, and then what's going to happen is we're going to have to deal with the engine failure, stabilize the aircraft, get the autopilot going, and then we're going to have to do whatever we need to do to secure the engine, see if we can relight the engine, and then potentially if we can get the engine back, we come back, we continue on our journey. We've programmed in a flight plan from Dubai to Muscat, to Oman in Muscat, and our secondary flight plan has us coming back to Dubai. All right, so everything's set up in the box. ready for departure. Our V speeds are going to be 147, 147 and 152 with a thrust reduction acceleration altitude of 13,000 feet. We will be doing a flex takeoff today of 68. Flaps 1 with a trim of up 0.7 is our trim for today. All right, everything's set up. We're going to be taking off and using the Anvix, I believe it's the Anvix 5 Golf SID. And in case of an engine failure, the procedure is going to be, we will maintain runway heading and we will climb to the minimum safe altitude in that area, which is going to be 3,000 feet. All right, and basically what's going to happen is at 1,500 feet we're going to level off the aircraft, accelerate, and basically just make sure that that we can clean up the aircraft, secure the engine, climb to the minimum safe altitude, and then bring it back in for a safe landing in Dubai Airport. All right, so guys, that's the plan, and let's jump right into it. Everything is ready. The lineup checklist has been completed. The initial altitude of 4,000 feet is set. I'm gonna release the parking brake now and give a little bit of forward pressure on the side stick right over there. And yep, let's go. Let's put 50% on the power. Stabilized, the aircraft's rolling, and now we're gonna go click and click. Manflex 68, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. All good. We're rolling down the runway now. So all we gotta do is use the rudders, keep us nicely in the center, and everything's looking absolutely fine. Remember, when the engine fails, it's going to be at rotation speed. Do not be in a hurry to rotate. There's 100 knots, cross-checked. What you need to do is stabilize the aircraft first and then rotate, okay? So here comes V1. V1, they've lost an engine. Looks like it's engine number 2. I'm using the rudders to maintain center line. And with that center line, with my foot placed on center line, now I'm gonna rotate. There we go. Give a little bit more rudder. Maintain runway track. We're climbing away now. So we got a positive rate of climb. Landing gear can now come in. Follow the SRS. Make sure the flight director is perfectly in the middle. We're gonna pull and set the runway head track, which is 119 degrees. And I'm just literally keeping my foot on. So engine number 2, which is on the right hand side, has failed. So what I need to do now is I am using my left rudder to make sure that this stays coordinated. This little blue thing has to come in the middle. There we go. And as I do that, I'm now going to trim the rudder to the good side. I'm going to give myself about 5 units of trim as required, and as I take my foot off, the aircraft should stay coordinated. All right, I'm losing airspeed, so I'm going to bring the nose down, keep it on that SRS, and as you can see now, I can take my feet off the rudders, and I've given myself enough trim that the rudder is staying coordinated right there. It's in the middle. There's 1,000 feet. I can go ahead and turn on the autopilot now. All right. So with the autopilot on, all I got to do now basically is go ahead and do the exercises. All right, so as you can see, engine number 2, it's master caution, engine 2 failure, and what we're going to do now is we're basically going to do the ECAM actions. All right, so engine mode selector goes to ignition. That's this guy here, ignition. Thrust lever number 2 to idle. You put your hand and you ask your partner to confirm that it's number 2. He or she will say confirm number 2, and you bring it back to idle. When you do that, it marks it as done. Engine master number 2 to off. You put your finger here and you confirm it's engine master number 2. They'll say confirmed, and you pull and you go off. All right. Now the next step is, if there's damage, engine 2 5 push button push. All right. Now here you gotta have to see these parameters, okay? Where you're going to basically, you see there's no N1 rotation, there's no N2 rotation, there's no fuel flow. This engine is damaged, it's not even windmilling. So because there's damage, we come up here, confirm it's engine number 2 5 push button. They say confirm, lift, push, and then fire the squib. And now the engine is secured. All right. So when you say engine secured, or when they tell you engine secured, you'll say stop ECAM actions, and you're now currently just about 1500 feet. We're gonna push the level off by pushing the VS. You get VS 0, and now we're going to clean up and accelerate the aircraft to alleviate the stress on the good engine. All right. So as we're leveling out, as you can see here, we've got the S speed coming. So very soon we're going to be able to get the flaps to 0. There we go. We've got S speed, so I can go ahead and call for flaps up. They'll say speed check, flaps up. They will disarm the spoilers, and they will and they'll put the 2 outer lights off. Now I'm going to wait for green dot speed. I'm going to set MSA 3000 and pull. And I'm going to pull and keep it on the green dot speed right there. And now it says thrust lever MCT, so I'm going to go back and forward, and we got thrust MCT, auto thrust wide. We're climbing to 3000 feet using green dot, and the good engine can now relax a bit, doesn't have to work too hard. All right. Now we've been maintaining the runway track. By now we would have called in our mayday, we've got an engine failure, we need to return back to Dubai Airport, squawking 7700. And what's going to happen now is we're basically going to do our briefings. We're going to talk to each other and decide what we want to do. The smartest thing to do right now would be to turn back and head back towards Dubai. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over control communication to my partner, who's not there, it's me, and we're basically going to make a left-hand turn downwind back towards the airport on a heading of 300 degrees, and we're going to maintain 3000 feet. This is air traffic control giving us these vectors now. All right, they're going to clear the airspace, and they're going to give us priority and help us come back in. All right, so now that my partner is flying the aircraft, the autopilot is on, everything's looking good, we're at a safe altitude, we've secured the engine, everything's good. Going to continue with the ECAM actions. All right, engine number 2 failed, so now we can clear that. Now we're going to read the secondary failures. Land ASAP in amber, and the air bleed system, we've got no pressure from the right hand side, but we've got the left hand side providing air pressure, which is bleed air, which is fine. So clear air bleed, they'll say clear, we clear it. Now the electrical system, we've got the Gen 2 offline, but we've got Gen 1 carrying the load for both AC1 and AC2 for both sides. So what we can do is to alleviate generator number 1, we're going to start the APU. Push and then hold down the starter, and that's going to start the APU. Once the APU kicks in, the APU will take care of the bus number 2 side. All right, so we can clear the electrics now by pushing the clear button here. Now the next thing is the hydraulics. We've got low pressure on the yellow hydraulic system because it's powered by engine number 2. But you can see the PTU is the green system is pressurizing the yellow system via the PTU, so everything's good. We're going to go ahead and clear the hydraulics now. Everything's good. Now we go onto our status page. Now at this point, I would tell my partner, okay, stop the status. Do we have any OEBs? Any recorded failures before? We don't. Any checklists that we could do right now? There is no checklist that's waiting for us except for the approach checklist later. And also, there are no computer resets that we can do right now. So there's nothing that we can do about this. The engine's gone. We've already pushed that button, which means we can't relight the engine. So that's it. So now, since there's nothing more we can do, we're going to continue reading the status. So status is avoid icing conditions. If severe ice accretion, minimum speed is VLS plus 10, green dot. Maneuver with care. The landing distance procedures will apply. If no engine 2 damage, consider an engine 2 relight. That's not going to happen for us today. And Cat 3 single only. That's our capability. The inoperative systems on the aircraft right now are the wing anti-ice, the Cat 3 dual, engine 2 bleed, pack 2, generator number 2, and the yellow engine 2 pump. Those are the inoperative systems right now. So if my partner's happy, we're gonna clear that, remove the status, and that's it. We're now pretty much done. We've secured the aircraft, we've secured the engine, everything's good. The aircraft is flying safely. We're on a heading right now back towards Dubai International Airport, and what I need to do now is I need to program the return. okay, and then brief my pilot monitoring, brief my partner. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to the secondary flight plan, and as you can see on the secondary flight plan, it has me coming back to for an ILS in Dubai International Airport, which is absolutely fantastic and what we want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the hat where first I'm going to do secondary flight plan, activate secondary flight plan. Now when you do that on the primary flight plan, you can see that now instead of going to Oman, we're coming back to Dubai, and there's the ILS back into to Dubai International Airport. The next thing is we're going to do the hat. So we go here, the RNAV, we're going to check that the ILS frequency is correct, 109.5, 119, that's identified and checked. Now we go to progress, we can put OMDB 1 to right, not 1 to Q, 1 to R, and we put it right over there. And then after that, we're going to come to performance, and we're going to go next phase, next phase, next phase, and you can see the QNH is 1016, temperature is 27. The winds right now are variable at 4 knots, so I'm going to put 0/4 there, and the barrel reference for the minimums is 211, which according to the chart, I hope you guys can see it, you can see the minimums are 211. All right, and in terms of our briefing, the frequencies are checked, and the missed approach procedure is climb direct to Delta Bravo 614, then on track 134 to Delta Bravo 655 at 4,000, then turn left to a track of 044 to Tau 2 and hold at 4,000 feet. So that's the missed approach procedure, and the minimum safe altitude in the sector we're going to right now is 3,800 feet. But since we're being vectored by ATC, we're good. We don't have to worry about that too much. Looking at the runway, if we bring up our taxi chart right there, we can see that the airport is indeed runway 12 right, which is a 14,590 foot runway. Plenty of runway for us, and we can try to exit at kilo 13 or kilo 15 as required, and then we'll probably make our way towards Concourse A or something like that, where we can do repairs. So that's basically the briefing, guys, and this is going to be an auto brake low landing. So now all I have to do is basically sequence the flight plan, which is basically from Takeoff outbound. All right, so we come here, press the direct to page, select Takeoff, and put the opposite of the runway track, which is 299, right over there, and insert, and then pull the head in, maintain track, and there we go. We are now basically sequenced, and we're exactly 24 track miles to go before we can start the turn. We can also turn on the landing screens right now, the ILSs, get those going, and we're going to go ahead and start the turn. Once we're a beam ped off, we're going to start the turn back towards the runway. So I'm going to get back to you guys when we're just a beam ped off and starting the turn towards the landing. Alright guys, it's been a few minutes, and we're pretty much ready to start the approach back towards our runway. So what we're going to do now is, first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate the approach phase, get the aircraft to start slowing down, and I can even manage the speed now. It's going to maintain green dot speed for me. And let's assume that air traffic control has cleared us now to go straight towards Delta Bravo 657. So we're going to go direct Delta Bravo 657 and insert cross check. The aircraft is now in nav, and the aircraft is going to start its turn towards Delta Bravo 657, which is our final approach fix for today. All right, and while we do that, we are now about less than 15 miles away from touchdown, so we can go ahead and ask for flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1. Every time you change configuration, the status page is going to come back. If there's nothing new on the status page, just clear it. All right, and as you can see, we're flying with one engine only. The engine number 2 is out, and the aircraft is still stable. Now let's assume that air traffic control have cleared us for the ILS. So I'm gonna go ahead and press the approach button and the second autopilot, and you get Cat 3 single, autopilot 1+2. It will usually say Cat 3 dual, but because we're in single engine, we're Cat 3 single only, just as it says in the status page that our capability right now is only Cat 3 single. All right, so as you can see, it's right there and right there. Okay, so It didn't lie to us. All right, so now we're turning in. As you can see, the Airbus is so well designed. I'm flying this aircraft right now like it's normal, like there's nothing wrong. Okay, glide slope's alive, and we know that our missed approach procedure is going to be basically climb direct to Delta Bravo 614 and then on track. So which brings me to the next exercise that we're going to do, which is a single engine go around, and I'm going to do this manually. All right, I'll be hand flying the aircraft. So right now we're coming up on 1 bar above, so I'm going to go flaps 2, speed checked, and flaps 2. That's going to get the flaps to come out, and we're already ready to intercept the localizer and the glide slope, so things are looking pretty good there. Coming up on Data Island very soon. It's going to slow us down, but I'd like to keep our speed at about 160 knots until we're established on both the localizer and the glide slope. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the autopilot now. Double push. All right, autopilot's off. And basically now that I'm hand flying the aircraft, I need to trim the rudder as required. So okay, there's glide slope and lock star. So now I'm just literally flying the aircraft just to maintain that localizer and glide slope. I'm using the flight directors. I can go ahead and manage my speed now. I'm on the glide slope, so let's get the gear down and we can go for flaps 3. Localizer, so we've captured the localizer now. And with the engines at almost idle as we make our way, and we're also going to set, since we're on glide slope, we set the go around altitude too. All right, so now everything's pretty much set. All I have to do is just make sure I'm following the flight directors, keeping the aircraft nice and centered, and I can probably ease off on the trim a little bit, as you can, because we're leading a bit too much. So I'm just going to ease off on the rudder trim just to coordinate this aircraft nicely. You can see it's a little sensitive. As the power comes in, adjust as required. 2000. Trim as required. So I can actually now trim a little bit more. I'll give myself about 8 units thereabouts, and that's going to help me with keeping the aircraft nice and stable. We can also go now for flaps full and finish all those items there. We can even do the landing checklist, which is ECAM memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Aircraft is stable. We're heading straight for the runway right over there. I have the runway in sight, and everything's looking absolutely good. You see, it's very minimal inputs on the side stick, just to keep the aircraft heading in the direction that we want it to go. The autopilot's off, and the only thing that's on right now is the auto thrust, but I could turn that off as well if I wanted to. I just don't want to. I'm gonna use the tools that I have. All right, there we go. Bringing the aircraft in, stabilizing, and it's very normal in Dubai for buildings to disappear and reappear. It's perfectly normal, just ignore that. All right, now as we get to a lower speed, there's more engine thrust coming in, which means the aircraft can tend to yaw. So it's engine number 1, which is on this side. So as the engine accelerates, it will want to yaw the aircraft, which is why we trim the aircraft into the good side. So that's 1000. We're stable on the localizer, stable on the glide slope. Airspeed is stable as well. Everything's looking nice and stable, for lack of better words. And I'm just making my way in. At minimums, I'm going to do a go around, a single engine go around. Okay, and this is something that may or may not come in your simulator assessment, so up to you guys. But generally speaking, once you've stabilized the aircraft, once you've got, ticked all the boxes, there's really not much to do. Just fly the aircraft like a normal airplane. It's really that simple. 400. Now when I do give full power to do the go around, okay, we have land on the FMA. When I do give full power for the go around, I'm gonna have to use the rudder to stabilize it. All right,
100 above.
100 above.
200.
There we go.
minimum,
Okay, minimum's going around. Toga, gonna use the rudder to keep the...
100,
There we go. SRS go around track, go around flaps, one flap up, and we're gonna climb away nice and gently. Man, Toga, SRS go around track was what the FMA said. We're now climbing away, so landing gear up. I'm using my left foot to
minimum,
maintain that, just to keep the aircraft nice and coordinated. We've got F speed now, so I can go ahead and bring the flaps back to 1, reduce the drag on the aircraft. And as we accelerate, we'll get a better climb rate as well. And now we're going into our go around procedure. I can now trim a little bit more to the good side. Take my feet off the rudders and trim as required. As you can see, it's staying coordinated, and I can get the autopilot back on. All right, autopilot 2, and that is basically going to get us out towards the go around procedure. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the go around procedure, fly out to Taltu, and then we're going to get vectors and come back again, and then line ourselves up again with the runway and land. All right, so I'll see you guys back there. All right, guys, we're back here again. Where we did the go around procedure. We did the hold, we cleaned up the aircraft. We're now back again in clean configuration. Engine number 1 doesn't have to work too hard, and we've just been cleared to Delta Bravo 657 again to start the approach and do a single engine landing. So Delta Bravo 657 is selected. I'm going to go insert nav Delta Bravo 657. I can also go ahead and up the localizer and the glide slope. Alright, Cat 3 single, autopilot 1+2, and we're going to go ahead and start configuring. So flaps 1 now. Remove the status page, there's nothing new there. And basically that's going to help us start slowing down to our S speed. And I'm going to start configuring once we're lined up with the runway. I'm going to start configuring to flaps 2, gear down, flaps 3, flaps full, and so on. We can now basically do the approach checklist, which is going to be barrel reference is 1016, reading 2,000 feet, and it's cross-checked on both sides. The seat belts are on. The minimums are 211 on the barrel. Auto brakes are going to be low, and the engine mode selector currently is ignition start, as you can see right over there. So that's the approach checklist completed. All we got to do now is just capture the localizer, capture the glide slope, and bring the aircraft in for a landing. Gonna get back to you in just a second once I'm fully configured and on the approach. All right. And here we are, we're on the localizer. The glide slope is 1 dot above the center, so we can go ahead now. We're already flaps 2, so we can go ahead and request for gear down. Flaps 3, we arm the spoilers, turn on the lights, tell the cabin crew to be seated for landing. Glide slope star, so we're now in the process of capturing the glide slope. And we're making our way in towards the runway. Once we have the glide slope, we can set the go around altitude, which is going to happen in just a few seconds. There we go, glide slope 4,000, go around altitude set, and we can go ahead now and wait for flaps full. There we go, and the landing checklist is completed. I'm going to go ahead and cancel the autopilot and hand fly the aircraft in. All right, we've got Cat 1 on the FMA, and we literally just follow the flight directors, follow the SRS, make sure the aircraft is stable, add and reduce the trim as required. I can actually reduce the trim a couple of notches just to keep the aircraft coordinated, the rudder and the nose coordinated. And we're making our way down towards the runway. And there we go, scenery disappears, scenery comes back. Good old Microsoft Flight Simulator. And when you're hand flying the aircraft in, guys, Remember, this aircraft, this can do a fully automated auto land, even in single engine. I promise you, it can do that. But since for the sake of exercise, you'll be hand flying the aircraft in, do not forget at 50 feet to ask your partner to reset the rudder trim by pushing this black button over here, okay? At 50 feet, reset the rudder trim, and because that's going to be the time when you're going to bring the thrust lever back to idle to basically flare the aircraft and land it. So here we are, we're pretty much right there on the final approach. Maintaining flight directors, very little side stick impulse required. 500 feet, that's cross-checked. Slightly low.
$400.
400 feet. Land on the FMA. We're committed now to our landing.
300.
300 feet.
100 above.
100 above our minimums. Keeping the aircraft coming in. Gonna give a little bit more rudder as required. Okay. Minimums. Continue.
100.
Checked. Alright. I'm gonna ask the pilot monitor now to at 50 feet.
50.
50. Reset the rudder trim. Bring the power to idle.
20. Retard.
And a little bit of left rudder now.
10.
And flaring.
5.
And we're on the runway. Pull both reverses. Okay, spoilers, reverses green, decel, and using the rudders now just to maintain, come back to that center line. And there we go, guys. A nice, safe landing. There's 70, idle reverse, tap on the brakes, get manual brakes going, and we can probably exit at the next high-speed exit, which is coming up on our right, which I think is going to be kilo 13, if I'm not mistaken. There we go, full idle now on the thrust levers, stow the thrust levers, and we're going to go, yep, kilo 13, a little bit of tiller action, a little bit of rudder, and we're going to exit the runway, and we're going to hold short over here for further instructions. And that, my friends, is how you how you handle an engine failure at takeoff. And we're just gonna get the parking brakes on. So that's how you do an engine failure after takeoff, or how you handle it rather. And this is also how you do a single engine go around. All right, hope you found that one useful. Now on to the final exercise. I said this is going to be the final exercise, but it's not. I have one more exercise, which is the radial intercepts. All right, so I'm gonna repair the aircraft now, and I'm gonna get us back up in the air, and I'm going to show you how to intercept a radial for a VOR. Okay, coming up soon. Alright guys, on to the final exercise for the day, which is to intercept VORs from different radials, okay? So the VOR that I have in mind is an airport not far from Dubai, which is in Ras Al Khaimah. I've flown into this airport many times on this channel. And the VOR over Ras Al Khaimah is the Ras Al Khaimah VOR, which is RAV, Romeo Alpha Victor. It's 113.6. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come to the RNAV page, and I'm going to put Romeo Alpha Victor, put it there, choose the first one, and then RAV on my side, on the first officer side as well, put that there. Alright, so now as you can see, we are tracking the Ras Al Khaimah VOR. We're about 34 miles away. Now let's say that, and you're going to go to VOR mode, okay? Now as you can see, both needles, VOR1 and VOR2 needles, are pointing towards that VOR. We are currently heading 120 degrees. Now let's just say the instructor or the examiner, he's going to tell you, okay, I want you to intercept from an inbound of 030, an inbound heading, an inbound radial, whatever you want to call it, of 030. How do you do that? So first thing you're going to do is, you're going to put 030, alright, type 030, and you're going to put that into the course. Now that is 030. Now the goal here is to pull the needle, this needle here, into the middle. That's how you know you'll be intercepting the VOR from 030. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I need to get this VOR pointing in the direction of the course. Okay, so the blue arrow is the course, the white arrows are is physically where the VOR is right now in relation to the aircraft, and this is the center line marking 030 as the intercept. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, first thing I'm going to do is, because I need to pull the needle in, I need to pull the VOR towards my course, I'm going to go offset, all right, away from the needle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set a heading. I'm going to turn the aeroplane first towards the needle, all right, towards the VOR, and the aircraft is going to bank. And yeah, by the way, those are the mountains of those are the Rocky Mountains coming up very soon. I'm at a safe altitude, so don't worry. So now once we get to the heading of the actual VOR, okay, where it's physically pointing, now the next goal would be to line up all of these guys, to line up this guy here and line up this guy over here. All right, so what we need to do now is, as we get closer to the heading of the VOR, you can see that we've got 33 miles to go, but I need to pull this guy closer to this. So the easiest way to do it is to go offset, all right, to go offset from the needle. So when you go away from it in the opposite direction of where it should go, it will push the needle closer. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm literally going to go about 20 or 30 degrees offset, like that, say about, oh, I don't know, 355 degrees. Now that I'm pointing away from the needle, that's going to push this needle back towards the course. And as this needle and the course get closer together, this needle is going to come alive. Let me show you how that happens. As you can see, because we're flying offset, it's now pushing. If I go more further offset, I'm going to go another 10 degrees for 345. In fact, I'm going to go 340. All right, 340 set on the heading. In fact, I'm going to go track FBA so it's more accurate for wind. 340. Now look, as I'm flying offset, this is getting closer to the actual course, and that's what we want. We want to make sure these guys all line up. So while I'm waiting and waiting, and by the way, there's the Rasakima Mountains over there. That's Jebel Jais Mountain in the distance, where I usually go for my winter camping. It's about 5,000 feet above sea level, and it's a lovely place. It gets pretty cold as well during the UAE winters. All right, anyway, back to this. I digress. All right, now you see it's getting closer and closer. If you really want to push it faster, just go 90 degrees of it, almost 90 degrees, and that's going to force that needle, the VORs, in towards the course. And we're at 26 miles to go, so we're still okay. And forgive me if I'm slightly disoriented sitting in the right seat, because I'm usually used to being over there. Not complaining, not complaining. All right, you see that? Now it's getting closer and closer to the track because we're flying offset. We're pushing it in the direction we want it to go. While we're doing that, check this out. This is also now alive. So the easiest way to track this, because we're going to go inbound, we want to fly the head of the arrow. Okay, so I'm gonna literally put the hat, this little blue triangle, it's called a hat. I'm gonna put the hat just in front of that needle, of that arrow, and as it moves, I'm gonna move with it. I hope you guys can see that clearly. I'm adjusting as it moves, keeping the hat in front of the head of the arrow. And as I do that, we're getting closer and closer and closer to lining all of them up. Now I can wait here, let the needle move a little bit more. This is how easy it is to do it, guys. Pretty much right now, the physical location of the VOR and the course is pretty much spot on, almost. Just a little bit of fine tuning. You can see now the arrow is coming even closer. Let's go ahead, turn the aircraft, put that right over that arrow. And very soon, but stay offset until you get a perfect center. All right, I'm currently right now at 016 degrees. Now, as all these guys are going to line up very soon, look at that. The VORs and the course have perfectly lined up. The arrow is pretty much perfectly in the middle. I'm now going to set 030, the actual course that I want to, the actual track I want to intercept. And there we go. 030 on the FCU, 030 on the course. Everything's lined up perfectly. We are now intercepting this VOR from an inbound of 030. And that's how you do it, guys. If the arrow goes slightly to the right, just go a couple of degrees to the right just to pull it back in. Remember, go in the direction, pull it back in, then come back to your course. That's pretty much how you do that, guys. Now that it's almost perfectly centered, I'm gonna come back to 030. And because I'm in track FPA mode, the aircraft, it's doing all of this, factoring for the crosswind as well. So I don't have to worry about the winds or take the winds into consideration. All I have to do is just put these parameters in there and the aircraft will do it for me. All right. So now let's say they want me to intercept from, they want me to do an intercept from 163. All right. What we're going to do here is I'm going to come and I'm going to put 163 into the course. There we go. There's 163. All right. In fact, I'm looking at the wrong chart. Sorry, not 163. I want 184. All right, 184 outbound. 184. I'm going to put that in there. Here we go. 184. So now, and that's going to be outbound. Okay. So what I want to do first is I want to track inbound 184. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first pull. You see, 184 is over here. All right. So I need to get the needle pointing towards the course first. So I'm literally going to go about 90 degrees to the physical VOR position. All right. Just take the position and just go 90 degrees to the left. Don't be fussy about numbers. I want to push this all the way there. So now I'm going to stay 90 degrees off the VOR and I'm going to fly inbound 184. All right. So a lot has to change here. Right now I'm on the outbound. So I need to make sure that this guy moves. And as I'm flying 90 degrees to the VOR, you can see because we're flying away from it, we're pushing it towards the course we want it to go. So we're just going to stay on this track, keep adjusting for 90 degrees, and as it moves, we will then be able to start the inbound. As you can see, the needle's moving. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but that's okay. I'm just gonna stay 90 degrees off the VOR and keep pushing it in. Making a small adjustment here just to keep it at the 90 degrees. So I'm literally just looking at the angle here and then finding the center, and that's my 90 degree marker, more or less, because you gotta stay 90 degrees to push it effectively. And while I do that, I'm admiring the view of the Arabian Sea coming into view, and there's the Ras Al Khaimah Mountains over there as well. Okay, gonna make another small adjustment just to stay 90 degrees. And this is the same thing you can do if you want to do a DME arc. You just keep 90s. Keep 90 degrees offset, and that will help you push the VOR in the direction you want it to go. As you can see, as we stay 90, okay, there's 09, the course, the thing is at 090, so I'm going to come to north, exactly 90 degrees to the left of it. And as it moves, now it's 095, so I'll come to 005. That's going to push it towards 010, or 100. There we go. Now I'm gonna stay at 010, 90 degrees, always 90 degrees away from it. It's coming up on 120 now, so let's go to 020 on the track. Again, stay 90 degrees. And I want to basically fly an inbound track. That's why I've had to make this massive maneuver. I kind of should have rethought that before I on the timing, but that's okay. We're learning, right? 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 All right. So now it's about 135, so I can go to 035 over here. Keep pushing it. And as you can see now, it's getting closer and closer to the course that I want to intercept it from, which is exactly what I want. So now I'm gonna go to 050. Keep pushing that needle in the direction I want. Now, as I showed you earlier, guys, as this needle gets closer to the course, as the VOR needles get closer to the actual physical course, that is when this needle is going to come alive, and then you're going to start, because you're going inbound, you're going to track the arrow, the head of the arrow. Okay, so we're just going to keep waiting. So it's 155 now. Keep coming, keep pushing it in the direction you want. So now you can see that we're about 10 degrees away. The physical direction of the VOR is about 10 degrees away from the course. That's when you can expect this guy to start coming alive. So as that happens, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, you see it's alive. I'm gonna put the hat in front of the arrow, and I'm basically gonna follow the arrow in. As the arrow moves in, I'm going to move the hat in with it. A little bit more of adjustment. A little bit more adjustment. Bit more. Okay, we're almost there. Waiting for all of them to centralize, and then we're going to have a perfect. So I'm just going to manage my speed, let it go down to green dot speed. And as the needle comes in towards the center, there we go, that's almost perfectly centered. And now I'm going to put 184. There we go. 184 is the track we wanted, is the course we wanted to intercept, and here we go. We are now perfectly lined up. 184 heading straight for the Russell Kmart VOR. And that, my friends, is how you do that. And if you yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So that's how you do it. If you're flying inbound, you follow the head of the arrow. If you're flying outbound, you follow the tail of the arrow. Okay, that's pretty much it, guys. I'll even link a video in the description below for you guys to have a more detailed tutorial on that one. So guys, that's pretty much it for the exercises in the assessments. I hope you found them useful. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I promise you I reply to every single one of them, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you for watching. Please hit like if you like this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Bye bye.
Hi, do you live in Dubai? Or are you in the United Arab Emirates? Are you an aviation enthusiast? Do you play flight simulator on your computer at home? Would you like to have the ultimate experience of flying an Airbus A320 in a real cockpit environment? Or are you a real-world pilot and you're looking to practice for an upcoming airline assessment? Or do you just want to master the Airbus aircraft? Are you a pilot looking to level up your knowledge and experience in instruments and navigation? Or maybe you're thinking of becoming a pilot in the future, but you're not yet sure if this is the path for you. Well, whatever your requirements may be, we're here for you. Book a session in our Airbus A320 flight simulator and come experience flying with a real-world pilot by your side as your instructor, guiding you along every step of the way. All ages are invited. Just scan the QR code or contact us via the details below for more information. See you guys in the cockpit soon.